Arian nodded. Underestimation is dangerous. We thought we were superior. We thought we could predict them easily. But we were wrong. Humanity cannot be measured only by strength or size. It is measured by balance, awareness, and care. The drones followed Daniel as he walked near the forest. Birds flew from the trees and the leaves whispered in the wind. Daniel paused to watch a small rabbit cross the path. He smiled softly, then continued his walk, alert to everything around him. The aliens watched in silence. Every detail mattered. Every action, every glance, every step was part of the pattern they had been studying. And the pattern was clear. Humans carried a hidden power, a predator mode, but it was never used recklessly. It was used with thought, with intention, and often to protect others. Arian turned to the crew and spoke again. We have learned our greatest lesson here. Humans are not to be feared lightly. They are not to be dismissed. They are a species to respect. Their hidden strength is not only physical. It is mental, emotional, and moral. That is the true power of their kind. Laren looked down at the screens, his expression serious. We came to study a species we thought simple. We leave with respect and wonder. Their predator instincts are only part of their nature. Their greatest strength is how they use it wisely. The ship remained over the forest as the sun rose higher. Daniel reached the clearing where he often rested and watched the water flow in a small stream. His eyes reflected the sunlight, calm and clear. He had no idea he had been part of a long study, that his life had been observed by beings from the stars. But the aliens did know. They had seen how he adapted, how he protected, how he balanced power and care, and that knowledge changed them. Arian spoke finally, his voice carrying calm authority. We will report that humans are a species of balance, a species of hidden power. We have underestimated them for too long. Let us remember this lesson. Strength is not always visible. Power is not always loud. The most remarkable qualities can be quiet, careful, and protective. The crew nodded in agreement. Some of them recorded additional observations. Others simply stared at the planet below, their minds filled with awe and respect. They understood that humans could not be measured in simple ways. They had learned that even ordinary life held extraordinary lessons. Below, Daniel returned home tired but happy. He shared a quiet evening with Mark and Anna, laughing and talking about simple things, food, stories, and the stars above. He did not know he had taught the aliens a lesson in strength, calm, and protection, but that was how humans were. They carried extraordinary abilities without needing recognition. They acted not for glory, but for care, for survival, and for balance. The aliens continued to observe for a while longer, making notes, but they understood the truth now. Humanity was more than it appeared. They were gentle yet sharp, calm yet alert, ordinary yet extraordinary. And the greatest lesson of all was clear. Underestimate humans at your own risk, for their predator instincts are guided by intelligence, care, and hidden power. Arian looked down at the planet one last time before the ship moved silently away. We came to watch, he said softly. We leave with understanding. This is the species we must respect above all others. And with that, the explorers disappeared into the sky, leaving Earth behind. Below, life continued in simple, ordinary ways. But humans like Daniel carried within them a quiet, extraordinary strength, unseen by most, respected by few, and understood only by those who had truly watched. One morning, Daniel met his friends at the edge of the forest. He carried a small backpack with simple supplies. Anna smiled at him. You are always ready for the forest, she said. Daniel shrugged. I like to be prepared, that's all. Mark laughed. Prepared for what? The trees? Daniel smiled but did not answer. His eyes scanned the forest carefully as if reading every detail in the light of the morning sun. Above, the drones followed them, invisible and silent. Arian and the crew watched closely. This is the moment we must understand, Arian said. This is when the predator instincts show not for themselves but for others. As the group walked deeper into the forest, a sudden sound broke the quiet. A fallen tree blocked part of the path ahead. Anna stepped back, unsure how to move around it. Mark frowned and looked for another way. Daniel stepped forward immediately. He studied the tree, its branches, the loose soil around it. His movements were calm but precise. He found a safe path and guided his friends through it, making sure no one stumbled. The aliens were silent. They had seen humans act quickly before, but this was different. Daniel's sharpness was not just about survival. It was about protecting others. Notice this, Arian said quietly. It is not instinct for self only. It is instinct for care. That is rare among species we have studied. The friends continued their walk. Birds flew overhead. Small animals scurried in the underbrush, and the wind whispered through the leaves. Daniel stayed alert, yet his face remained relaxed. He smiled and laughed with Anna and Mark, showing no tension even as he watched the forest closely. At one point, Anna tripped over a hidden root. Daniel caught her arm immediately, steadying her before she could fall. She looked at him with surprise. "Thanks," she said. "You're always ready for anything." Daniel smiled. "I only try to be careful." The drones above recorded the moment from every angle. The aliens watched closely, replaying it in slow motion. Every movement, every decision, every pause showed thought and control. "He reacts, but he does not overreact," Laurent whispered. "He measures the situation before acting, and his action protects others." "This is incredible," Arian nodded. "This is what we have been missing. Predator instincts are not only for survival, they are for protection. That is the real power of humans." Later, the group reached a small clearing where they rested. Daniel knelt beside a stream and watched the water flow. Mark and Anna spoke quietly nearby. Daniel's eyes scanned the forest again, noticing the smallest movements, the rustle of a leaf, the direction of the wind, the shadows on the ground. The aliens observed in awe. They realized that humans were not only fast or strong, they were aware, patient, and protective. They could shift from calm to sharp and back again with ease. And they did this not for themselves alone, but for those they cared about. "This is what makes them extraordinary," Arian said softly. "Not only their instincts, but their purpose. Their instincts are guided by care, by thought, by connection. They are predators, yes, but they are also guardians." The crew fell silent. Many of them had studied species that were predators, but none had seen this combination of power and thought. A creature that could protect without losing its calm was rare, almost unknown. As the sun set, the friends began walking back to their town. Daniel carried the same calm smile he always had, chatting and laughing as if nothing unusual had happened. But above, the aliens continued their watch, their minds filled with respect and a quiet sense of awe. Arian finally spoke to his crew. "We have learned more than we expected. Humans are not only strong when threatened, they are strong when protecting others. That is a truth we must understand fully. It changes everything we thought we knew about them." The crew nodded slowly. They knew they could not predict everything about humans. They had underestimated the balance of strength and care in this species, and that realization brought them both awe and caution. Below, Daniel returned home unaware of the silent eyes watching him. He had spent his day helping, guiding and protecting his friends, thinking only of what was around him. But the aliens above had learned a lesson that would stay with them for the rest of their journey. Humanity was more than calm smiles and ordinary lives. Humanity carried hidden strength, sharp instincts, and a quiet power of protection. And for the first time, the explorers felt that humans were not just a species to observe. They were a species to respect, to understand, and perhaps one day to learn from. The alien ship drifted quietly above Earth, the planet glowing in the soft light of dawn. The crew had spent weeks observing humans, studying their calmness, sharp instincts, and hidden strength. Each day brought new surprises, new lessons, and new respect for the species below. Arian, the leader, stood before his crew, his tall silver figure casting a long shadow on the floor of the ship. His voice was calm, but it carried weight. "We have watched them carefully. We have tested their reactions. We have seen their hidden instincts. And now we understand. Humans are not weak. They are not simple. They are strong in ways we did not predict." The crew nodded. Their eyes focused on the glowing screens that displayed life on Earth. Cities, forests, rivers, and towns. Humans were everywhere, living ordinary lives yet holding extraordinary potential beneath the surface. Laren, one of the younger explorers, spoke. "We have seen Daniel and others. Their predator instincts are remarkable. But it is more than that. They act to protect, to guide, and to care. That is something we have rarely seen in any species." Arian's gaze softened. Yes, their strength is balanced by their thought. Their power is guided by care. That is what makes them special. Not many species can combine patience with sharp action, calmness with focus, and kindness with strength. Below, Daniel walked through his town, unaware of the silent eyes observing him.
He helped a neighbor carry a heavy box, greeted children playing in the street, and stopped to fix a broken fence for a local farmer.
To him, life was ordinary. To the aliens, it was extraordinary. One of the crew spoke softly, almost in wonder. They are gentle, yet they can strike with precision. They are calm, yet alert. They are ordinary in appearance, yet extraordinary in reality. We underestimated them. Back on Earth, Daniel lived his days without knowing he was part of this great study. At the repair shop, he fixed tools for his neighbors. In the evenings, he walked near the forest. To him, life felt ordinary. But to the watchers above, every small choice carried weight. One evening, Daniel joined Mark and Anna again. They sat near a fire outside the town, sharing food and quiet talk. The night air was cool and the stars shone brightly above. Anna asked softly, "Do you ever feel the forest watches us back?" Daniel smiled. "Not the forest, but the world itself. If you listen, it always speaks," Mark laughed. "You sound like an old storyteller." But Daniel's eyes held that familiar sharpness for a moment. The aliens noticed it, even in such a calm setting. It was as if Daniel's mind never fully rested, always measuring, always ready. Inside the alien ship, debate grew stronger. One voice said, "If this is their instinct, then they are dangerous. They could rise against us." Another argued, "No, they do not strike without reason. They sharpen themselves only when needed. This makes them even harder to predict." Arian listened to both sides. Then he spoke with quiet weight. "Dangerous, yes, but also remarkable. To be calm and kind, yet to hold such power inside, that is a balance we have not seen before." The following day, Daniel entered the forest alone. He carried no bag, no weapon, only his steady steps. The drones followed, curious as always. For a long time, nothing happened. He walked, touched tree bark, listened to birds. Then the forest gave him a test once more. A sudden rustle broke the silence. From the bushes came the sound of movement, quick, sharp, and close. Daniel stopped at once. His breathing slowed. His eyes sharpened. His whole body shifted in a heartbeat. The aliens watched in silence. His feet spread slightly, balanced for motion. His hands loosened, ready to act. His gaze fixed on the shadows without blinking. He did not run. He did not freeze. He waited with control, as if the world itself slowed down for him. The movement in the bushes turned out to be only a small animal. It darted away, harmless. Daniel relaxed again, letting out a small laugh at himself. Yet the aliens were not laughing. He prepared for danger in less than a breath, one said in awe. And when the danger was nothing, he let it go as if it had never been, another added. This was the secret of predator instincts, not only the power to act, but the wisdom to release it when it was no longer needed. Arian spoke at last. His voice was steady, but his crew could hear the respect hidden in it. "We must understand this truth. Humanity is not a species of constant hunters. They are patient, they wait. But when the moment comes, their predator instincts awaken and nothing can stop them. That is the true danger, and the true wonder of their kind." The others nodded, though their silver faces showed unease. For the first time, they felt something unfamiliar stirring inside them. It was not fear, not exactly. It was respect, mixed with the quiet knowledge that if ever they faced humans in a true test, the outcome would not be certain. And so they kept watching, their curiosity growing with every passing day. For what they had seen so far was only the beginning of humanity's hidden strength. The alien ship drifted in silence above the planet, but inside, the explorers were restless. They had watched humans for many days now. They had seen Daniel's calmness shift into sharpness. They had seen other humans change in the same way. Each time their surprise grew deeper, but watching was not enough anymore. Arian, their leader, stood before his crew with a firm voice. "We have studied them from a distance. We must see how far these instincts go. It is time for a test." The others exchanged uneasy glances. To test a human was risky. They had promised not to interfere with life on Earth. But Arian argued that knowledge was worth the risk. "If we are to understand them," he said, "we must see them in action when they do not know they are being measured." And so the plan began. That evening, Daniel walked home from the repair shop. His bag was slung over his shoulder, and the sun was falling behind the hills. The streets were quiet, with only a few neighbors passing by. The drones followed him closely, waiting for the moment the test would begin. From the ship above, the aliens sent a command. One of their drones lowered itself into the world below, reshaping its silver surface. In only seconds, it looked like a broken machine, a harmless object lying in Daniel's path. When Daniel reached the corner of the street, he noticed it, a strange sphere shining faintly in the fading light. He frowned and stepped closer. His instincts stirred at once. Though it looked simple, something about it felt unusual. The aliens leaned closer to their screens. "Observe him," Arian whispered. "He will show us now." Daniel crouched and studied the sphere. His hand reached out, but he did not touch it. Instead, he glanced around the street, scanning the shadows, listening to every sound. His body was calm, but his eyes were sharp. The drone, following its program, released a sudden flash of light and rolled quickly toward him. It was harmless, only a trick of motion and sound, but Daniel reacted instantly. He stepped back, his bag dropping to the ground. His stance shifted low and balanced. His eyes tracked the object with precision. His movements controlled, not panicked. The aliens murmured in awe. "Look how fast," one said. "No fear, only focus." Daniel picked up a long stick from the side of the road. He did not strike wildly. He waited, watching the strange sphere roll and stop. Then he tapped it once with the stick, testing its weight. When it did not react further, he slowly lowered the stick and stepped closer again. "He tests before he acts," another alien whispered. "He does not waste energy." The drone spun in a quick circle, then fell still. Daniel crouched again and studied it, but this time his face showed calm. He had already adapted. His instincts had carried him through the sudden surprise, and now his patience returned. After a while he stood, picked up his bag, and carried the sphere under his arm. "Maybe Mark will know what this is," he muttered to himself with a small smile. The aliens sat back in silence as they watched him walk away. The test was complete, yet its result was more unsettling than they had expected. Arian spoke slowly. He did not freeze. He did not flee. He met the unknown with sharpness, but also with control. Even when faced with something strange, he remained balanced. "Do you see? This is the strength of their predator mode. It is not wild. It is intelligent." The crew nodded reluctantly. Some felt respect. Others felt unease. For if humans could face the unknown with such steady instincts, what would they do when faced with greater threats? That night, Daniel sat with Mark and showed him the strange object. Mark laughed and said it was probably a piece of a machine from the nearby town. They placed it on a shelf in the shop, forgetting about it for the moment. To them it was nothing important, but to the aliens above it meant everything. In their records, they wrote detailed notes about the event. They wrote about the speed of Daniel's reaction, the calm in his face, the balance in his body, the way he tested before trusting. They wrote about how quickly he returned to calm once the danger was gone. Arian read their notes and spoke again. "This is what makes them so different. Many species strike with power but no thought. Humans strike with thought but also with power. That combination is rare. That is what makes them dangerous." The others listened and none disagreed. For the first time in their long travels, they felt as if they had found a species that could one day stand as equal to them, or even greater. Daniel, unaware of any of this, went to sleep peacefully in his small home. He dreamed of walking again in the forest, of quiet nights under the stars. To him, life was simple, but to the silent watchers above, he was now the key to understanding an entire species. And as they drifted through the sky, the aliens knew their study was far from over. The test had answered one question, but it had opened many more. The days passed, and the alien ship continued to hover silently above Earth. The explorers had watched Daniel for weeks, and their recordings had grown into a large collection. They had studied his calmness, his sharp reactions, and his quiet strength. Yet the more they watched, the more questions arose. Humans were not only capable of survival, they had something deeper that the aliens could not yet fully understand. "He feels the world around him," one said. "Every sound, every shadow. He listens as if the forest itself speaks." Daniel stood tall, turned his head slightly, and for a long moment, it almost looked like he was staring straight at the sky, straight at the watchers. The aliens felt uneasy, as if the human knew of their presence even though their technology kept them hidden. "He cannot see us," Laren said quickly. "It is impossible." But Arian's voice was quiet, almost thoughtful. Impossible is a word we should no longer use for this species. Far below, Daniel finally turned away, walked back toward his home, and let his calm smile return. But to the aliens, the mystery had deepened. Humans were no longer just simple beings to be studied. They were puzzles wrapped in calm faces, carrying instincts sharp enough to unsettle even the most advanced minds of the stars. And so the Watchers stayed, quiet but restless, wondering what they would discover next. The sun was bright over the forest when Daniel decided to spend his weekend hiking. He enjoyed the quiet of the trees, the sound of leaves moving in the wind, and the smell of earth after morning rain. To him, the forest was not only a place of rest, but also a place of challenge. He liked to walk where the path grew rough, where he needed balance and focus. High above, the silver drones floated unseen. The aliens inside their ship leaned close to their glowing screens. They had decided to watch Daniel even more closely. They wanted to know if the strange sharpness they had seen in his eyes was a trick of chance, or if it was part of his true nature. Arian, their leader, spoke in a steady tone. "This is the time. The forest will test him. Here, without the safety of his home, we will see who he truly is." Daniel walked with two friends that morning. One was Mark, the same friend who worked at the shop with him. The other was Anna, a quiet woman who loved the outdoors. The three carried light bags and spoke easily as they followed the trail into the deeper woods. At first, the aliens saw nothing unusual. The humans laughed, told stories, and stopped to admire the streams and wildflowers. Their steps were light, their mood relaxed. To the Watchers, it looked like any simple walk, but then the forest grew thicker. The path turned narrow, rocks jutted from the ground and branches hung low. Daniel's pace slowed. His eyes moved more carefully and his body seemed to change. "Look," whispered Laren, one of the Watchers. The calm one shifts again. The aliens studied every detail. Daniel's breathing became slower, steadier, but his eyes darted from side to side, scanning the shadows of the trees. His voice grew quieter when he spoke to his friends. He pointed to loose stones on the path, warned Anna not to step too close to the edge of a slope, and gently guided Mark when he stumbled. Arian watched with interest. This is no accident. He becomes alert in places where others may see nothing. His eyes measure risk before it arrives. The forest tested them further. A sudden wind shook the trees and branches cracked above their heads. Anna gasped, but Daniel moved without hesitation. He pulled her a step aside, and a heavy branch fell exactly where she had been standing. His body had reacted faster than thought. The aliens replayed the moment again and again. "Prediction again," one whispered. He saw what would happen before it fell. Not fear, not luck, true instinct. The walk continued. Hours passed and the sun sank lower, painting the forest in golden light. The group found a clearing where they rested. Mark stretched out on the grass while Anna filled her bottle at a stream. Daniel sat on a fallen log, quiet but watchful. His head tilted slightly as if he was listening to something deeper than ordinary sound. The aliens leaned forward. His calm was not emptiness, it was focus. Every detail of the world seemed to flow into him. The crunch of leaves, the shift of the wind, the movement of birds, he noticed all of it. "He is part of this place," Arian said softly, "not separate from it. That is the hidden nature of his kind. They carry the instincts of hunters, even when they pretend to be simple workers or friends." Later, as the three friends prepared to walk back, a new test appeared. From the shadows of the trees, wild animals stirred. Small at first, only distant movement, but enough to make Anna uneasy. She whispered, "Did you hear that?" Mark shrugged, trying to appear calm. "Probably just deer," but Daniel's eyes narrowed. He raised a hand for silence and listened. His face showed no fear. Instead, it showed the same sharp focus the aliens had seen before. He placed himself a step ahead of his friends, his body standing like a shield. The animals never came closer. After a few moments, the forest grew quiet again. The sound faded and the danger passed. Anna exhaled with relief, but Daniel stayed alert for a long while before letting himself relax. The aliens whispered among themselves. He placed himself in front, one said. Not to protect himself, but to protect the others. "Yes," Arian agreed. "This predator mode is not only for survival, it is for defense." He becomes sharp not for his own safety, but for the safety of those near him. This truth unsettled them more than anything else. A creature that fought only for itself could be predicted, even avoided. But a creature that shifted to protect others carried a strength beyond simple survival. When Daniel and his friends finally left the forest and returned to the town, the aliens fell silent. They had seen enough to know this was not chance. Humans carried within them a hidden nature, gentle on the surface but able to become sharp, fast, and unshakable when needed. In their long journeys across the stars, the explorers had seen many species. Some were strong but selfish. Others were kind but weak. Humanity was different. Humanity was both. Arian turned from the screen and looked at his crew. His voice was calm, but his eyes were heavy with thought. We came here to study a simple people, but what we have found may be something far greater. The hidden nature of these humans is a mystery we must not ignore. The others nodded slowly. None of them spoke further. Their silver ship remained quiet in the sky, while below Daniel laughed with his friends, unaware of the secret eyes that watched him with growing respect. The alien ship floated far above the clouds, silent and unseen. Inside, the explorers gathered around their glowing screens once more. They had seen Daniel in his daily life. They had seen him in the forest. Each time they noticed the same change. Beneath his calm smile, beneath his kindness, there was something sharper, something that appeared only when needed. Arian stood tall before the others. His silver eyes looked serious. We must not stop here. It is not only Daniel. This hidden shift belongs to his entire kind. We must compare him with other humans. The drones scattered across the planet. They slipped into cities, towns, and villages, moving through the skies like invisible sparks. They watched athletes on running tracks, workers in busy markets, and children at play. Everywhere they saw the same pattern. Humans could be relaxed one moment, then change in an instant when challenged. One drone observed a young woman playing a sport in a small field. She laughed as she passed the ball, but when the game grew tense, her movements sharpened. Her eyes tracked every detail, her body grew faster, and her focus narrowed. The shift was as sudden as Daniel's in the forest. Another drone studied a musician on a street corner. He smiled gently as he played, but when a cart nearly struck a child, the man dropped his instrument and moved with startling speed, pulling the child out of harm's way before the wheels touched the ground. The aliens compared all their records. Calm faces, then sharp reactions. Warm voices, then sudden silence of focus. Gentle movements, then lightning-fast strikes when danger appeared. They all carry it, whispered Laurent, staring at the screens. Every one of them, Arian nodded slowly. It is not a trick of chance. It is their nature. This is what we shall call predator instincts. The crew fell quiet, thinking of the many worlds they had studied before. Predators usually showed their power openly, claws, teeth, muscles, or wings. Humans were different. They hid their predator instincts inside, showing them only when the moment demanded it. The sky above Earth was quiet that night, but in the silence of the upper atmosphere, something unusual drifted in. A ship from far away slowed its engines and circled the blue planet. It belonged to a group of explorers from another world. They had traveled across the stars to watch humanity. On board the ship, a group of aliens stood at wide glass windows. Their skin was pale silver, and their tall bodies bent slightly as they leaned forward. Their leader, Arian, spoke in a calm voice. This is the world of the humans, a small species but full of energy. Today we begin our study. The others nodded. They believed they were advanced in every way. They had studied countless worlds before, each full of life, but none of it seemed to surprise them anymore. To them, Earth was only another planet to measure, another species to place into their records. From orbit, Earth looked peaceful. Clouds rolled slowly across the oceans. City lights glowed like scattered jewels in the darkness. But the aliens did not see beauty in this view. They saw mystery. Humans had built machines, created networks, and sent signals into space. Yet their bodies were still fragile compared to the cold void of the stars. Strange, one alien whispered. They are weak, yet they spread across their planet so quickly. Arian raised a hand. Weakness is often hidden. We must not judge too soon. Let us send watchers to the surface. The ship released small silver drones, each shaped like a sphere no larger than a hand. They slipped into the atmosphere quietly, their movements smooth and silent. They carried eyes sharper than any telescope, ears that could hear a whisper from far away, and minds that could learn without end. The first target chosen was a young man named Daniel. He lived in a small town near the edge of a wide forest. Daniel was ordinary in many ways. He worked at a repair shop, fixed tools and machines, and spent evenings walking near the trees. He laughed often with his friends, greeted his neighbors with a smile, and enjoyed quiet nights under the stars. The aliens believed he was perfect for study. Observe him closely. Arian ordered. If he is average, then by him we will know the nature of the humans. The drones settled above Daniel's home, invisible to human eyes. They recorded his movements as he fixed a broken engine in the daylight. His hands were steady, his face calm. When he spoke to others, his voice carried warmth. To the aliens, this was expected. See how simple they are, one alien said. They live by habit. They eat, work, and rest. No danger to us here. Yet not all agreed. Another alien tilted his head and whispered, "Do not be quick. Look into his eyes. There is more." That night, Daniel left his home and walked toward the forest. The cool air brushed across the grass and the moon shone bright above. He moved with easy steps, but his eyes scanned the trees. The drones followed, recording every detail. He paused at a clearing and listened. Nothing moved, but the aliens noticed his body shift slightly. His shoulders squared, his breathing slowed, and his gaze sharpened. For a moment, it seemed as if Daniel could sense the watchers themselves, though they were hidden beyond his sight. "What is this change?" one alien asked. Arian leaned forward. "It is instinct. Something within him has awakened. Keep watching." Daniel stayed still for a long time, as if waiting for something. Then, with a small smile, he relaxed again. He sat on a fallen log, leaned back, and looked at the stars above. The sharpness faded from his eyes, and he returned to his calm self. The aliens wrote notes quickly, but their minds were troubled. "He is calm, yet he can become alert in an instant," said one. "Why does his body change so quickly?" "Perhaps it is nothing," another replied. "Perhaps he only fears the dark." Arian shook his head. "No, this is not fear. Fear makes a creature weak. This was control. He chose to sharpen himself, then he chose to rest again. This is something else. Something we do not yet understand." The others fell silent. For the first time in many years of exploration, they felt curiosity spark within them. Humans were not as simple as they first believed. Far below, Daniel stretched his arms and let out a quiet laugh. He had no idea he was being watched from above. He only knew that the night was calm, and the stars looked brighter than usual. But the aliens saw something different. To them, Daniel was more than a young man sitting under the sky. He was a doorway into a mystery they could not yet solve. And so the watchers stayed hidden, their silver eyes unblinking, as the first chapter of their study began. Morning sunlight spread over the small town where Daniel lived. The forest trees shone with dew, and the quiet streets were already waking with the sound of people heading to work. But high above, unseen by human eyes, the alien ship still hovered in the sky. Its silver body blended into the blue, making it invisible to anyone below. Inside, the explorers gathered around glowing screens. The drones had returned during the night, bringing hours of recordings of Daniel. Every blink of his eye, every step of his walk, every moment of silence was now stored in their machines. One of the aliens, Laren, shook his head slowly. "He is ordinary. He fixes machines, he speaks with friends, he rests. Why waste our time?" Arian did not agree. Ordinary things can hide extraordinary truths. We saw him sharpen himself like a hunter when he entered the forest. "Did you not see how his eyes changed?" the others murmured, remembering the moment. Humans, it seemed, could shift in ways that were not easy to measure. That mystery was what kept them watching. The next day, Daniel left his home with a small bag slung across his shoulder. He walked toward the repair shop where he worked. The drones followed, floating high above him, silent and invisible. They recorded every detail. At the shop, Daniel met his friend Mark. They greeted each other with laughter and a strong handshake. Daniel's smile was wide, his voice easy, his movements relaxed. He showed no sign of danger or hidden power. "Look at him now," Laren whispered. "He is gentle. There is no predator in him today." Arian leaned closer to the screen. "Wait, watch carefully. It is not about what he shows. It is about what lies beneath." Daniel spent hours fixing machines, lifting heavy tools, and explaining work to customers. His patience seemed endless. Even when a machine refused to start, he stayed calm and tried again until it finally worked. The aliens found this interesting. "His mind holds steady even when faced with failure," one alien said softly. "This is rare. Many species fall to anger or fear when challenged. He does not." When the workday ended, Daniel and Mark sat outside the shop and shared simple food. Their voices carried laughter, and the street around them was filled with the sound of neighbors talking. To the aliens, it looked like peace. But then something small yet strange happened. A glass bottle rolled from a table and broke near the ground. The sharp sound cut through the air. Daniel reacted faster than the drones could measure. His hand shot out and stopped a child from stepping onto the broken pieces. His body moved like lightning, his face calm but focused. The aliens froze in silence as they replayed the moment again and again. He moved before the danger touched the child. Laurent whispered, "Not reaction, but prediction." Arian nodded. "Yes, he saw the risk before it became harm. That is instinct. That is the predator's eye." The aliens did not speak of hunters lightly. In their long history of exploration, they had studied predators on many worlds. Sharp teeth, fast claws, sudden strikes, these were easy to understand. But humans were different. They carried this instinct inside, not always on display, but ready when needed. The night came again, and Daniel walked home with quiet steps. He stopped to greet neighbors, helped carry heavy bags for an old woman, and even paused to pet a stray dog on the road. He seemed soft, kind, and harmless. But the aliens, after watching carefully, no longer believed that was all there was. Back on the ship, they debated through the night. "Perhaps his kindness is only a mask," one said. "Beneath it, the hunter waits." "No," another replied. "It is not a mask. It is balance. He can be gentle, yet when danger rises, he becomes sharp. Both sides belong to him." Arian listened to them all before he spoke. "This is what makes humans dangerous. Not their size, not their tools. It is their hidden shift. They can be calm one moment and strike the next. We must continue to watch." The next morning, Daniel woke early and walked again into the forest. He carried nothing but a small stick, yet he moved as if he owned the silence around him. Birds scattered from the trees as he passed. He knelt near a stream, touched the water, and smiled to himself. From above, the drones recorded his every move. His breathing slowed again, his eyes sharpened. He seemed to sense something unseen, though there was no clear danger. The aliens leaned close to their screens, whispering in awe.